Hi there, here's Chef Bonus, and this video it's all about important terms for review, right? It's all about culinary stuff, first of all, right? In this video, I'm going to share with you two important terms which is very much important when you are working with or deals with food, right? The first is the food storage standard, then we have a food safety temperature, right? Because we know that when we process with cook or we just done with the food, you need to know that where to keep at what temperature so it not gets spoiled or not attacked by the bacteria, right? So those are things very important. So in this video I'm going to share with you all important about this topic of these terms, right? So let's start with this video. I welcome to my channel, and so please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can get a new updates when I'm gonna put a new video, right? Let's start with the point. Here we go. The first point is food storage standard, right? Let's see that what is all about the food storage standard and what are the things that go to the upper shelf and what goes to the bottom shelf, right? Here we go. You can see the top shelf, we're going to keep the beef, lamb, pork, seafood, ground meat, ground stuff like ground meat, then stuffed food. Then we have a poultry and egg, right? Eggs. So what is showing here is that what are the things go to the upper shelf and what are the things that go to the bottom shelf, right? Because we know that the cross contamination, right, and some of like temperature is there, right? The down and down the temperature goes, it shows like it shows that these are like less required of the cold, right? The cold means the temperature, right? It's like 0 to 10, right? So for example, like 0 to 10, okay? So in the 10, the poultry eggs, we're going to keep it, where for the 0 is going for the beef. For the example I'm telling you, it's not about the 0 exactly, it goes with beef, right? So that like we can see here the upper shelf and the bottom shelf, right? Let's go to the next slide. It's about the food storage procedure. That what is the procedure that, right? Let's start. The length of time food may be kept satisfactorily depends on the quality of the product when stored, how well it is stored, and the temperature of the storage area, right? Because it's an important factor that what temperature of the storage area where you're going to keep those things, right? All food preparation facilities must have area designated for dry, refrigerated or frozen storage, right? Where you're going to keep the dry, where you're going to keep the meat, where you're going to keep the vegetarian foods, where you're going to keep the cooked food. These all things really matters, that every food, every cooked food, raw meat, cooked meat, every have a different temperature to keep actually, right? It's never can keep like, okay fine, we're keeping a vegetable here, so exactly we can keep nearby the meat, right? It's a contamination, right? It's a cross contamination, right? If you know about that, I'm going to put a new video about the hazard where you can understand the concept of it, right? Let's go to the next video. Next term is maintained as followed. Let's see what are the things that is going to be maintained as followed, right? So we have 3 points actually in this, which is about dry storage, then we have a cold storage, then we have a leftover. I hope you can understand what is all about the leftover food, right? This is a very important topic actually that we need to know about this, because especially in hotels we see that a lot of food like to be just throw it out, right? To how to save, like how to use the leftover food in a better way. We're not going to be like throw it off just wastage. We're not going to go for the waste, right? Dry storage, like all the celery pulses, all things you can keep in a perfect way. Then cold storage about the meat, cooked food, everything like straight go in the refrigerators or in the walk-in where you can keep in a perfect temperature. It's not going to get spoiled and can have a long life, right? Let's see that what are the thing actually I explained in this video about the 3 important, this dry storage, cold storage and the leftovers, right? Let's start with the next slide. Here we go, the dry storage, right? What it says, dry storage area should be dry, cool, well ventilated, clean and free from insects. This is very much important actually, right? We must see that cleanness. First of all, the hygiene about like comments, like all should be clean, it should be well maintained, where no insects, no spoil is going to be happening that, right, in that place. Food should be stored in a minimum of 6 inches from the floor and 2 inches from the wall on rack. It must be a good space from down, right, so nothing be like contact to the ground. That's what it says, the meaning, right. Dates should be marked on each can or unit using a black marking pen. This is very much important to marking in every each thing that what comes, right, so you can easily see that what to use and what like before it gets expired and what month we had like best before use. That's what we say. That exactly that what is saying actually in this. So what's gonna happen that you can be completely confirmed that I can find this is 31st March. So yeah, best before use. So it's supposed to be open this week or next week. So not get spoiled or not gonna be like throw it out later. That is expired, right? We don't want any wastage. First of all, that is what I made focus, right? Open ingredients like flour, sugar, etc. should be stored is sealed, airtight containers. This is also a very much important point that we just can't skip it, because airtight containers is really important. When you open a packet and we just can't keep it like that in the storeroom, it gets spoiled or can be like it attracts the insects get smell of it, so definitely they will step into the storage, right? So you just can't control this because of one, you're gonna whole thing gonna get spoiled, right? For that reason, what we're gonna do is gonna use the airtight containers. If it's not there, because it will create a lot of problem, because the moisture content of that food, it will be contact to the air, right? So it get oxidized, and when it get fungus, a lot of problems that start creating, right? So airtight containers is very much important for the all opened or unsealed packets, right? Let's go to the next slide. Bagged item like flour, sugar, etc. should be cross stacked for ventilation. Yes, ventilation is really important because everything breathes. So like it will really be like it will be a fresh feel the contact of the air a bit, so it will be cross stacked and ventilation, air passing, so everything will be like safely stay for a longer period. That's the point. Next point, cleaning products and chemicals should be stored in a separate location from food storage area. Yes, that is important again. We just can't skip seriously. What are the points I'm putting in this video? It's all about all important points. So if you just go through a one point, you'll be completely clear with this topic. You don't know how to figure it out with any of your books, right? Cleaning product and chemicals should be stored in a separate location from food and storage area. Yes, because this is very matter, because some of like acid, some of like chemicals, right, we just can't store near the food. If it gets leakage or any like less like a leakage, it can be like spoil the food, right? It will contact with the food and the whole thing slowly gets spoiled. It can be a poison, right? So it's supposed to keep in a separate location where if anything happened to the chemical, it's not be like running and coming to the food storage area and spoil the whole food, right? So this is the next point. The dry storage area should have a minimum of 1 thermometer installed to monitor maintain of temperature between 70 or like 50 to 70 degree Fahrenheit, right? Yes, definitely we have to keep a temperature over there so we can easily understand the temperature of that particular room where the storage, like that storage room, right? To know about the temperature of the storage room and what temperature, and like is it like 50 to 70 Fahrenheit temperature has been kept. What are the things are supposed to be keep in the storage room, right? So this is what to monitor under our monitor to see that everything is perfect or not, because we don't want any spoilage, right? Because in the storeroom we used to keep a lot of the hell of things in that, plenty of things in that, right? If one temperature, just because temperature changes, the all food can get spoiled, and we don't want any waste or to go through that danger, right? We see temperature of dry storage area should be recorded daily on the temperature record card, so we can keep easily that is the temperature is maintained every day or not, and how much it fall and how much it go up. So those things are important to keep an idea. For that reason, we need to keep our temperature record card where you can see easily that what the temperature are coming through for all days, right? Let's go to the next slide. It's about the cold storage, right? Cold, both refrigerated and freezer storage should be clean and free from the moisture or ice buildup. Freezer and the refrigerator You have to see that it not have to be keep any of ice storage in that, right? Like ice formation. We don't have to be in the refrigerator, and refrigerator we don't want any of ice build up. Okay, so it must be clean and neat and according to the perfect temperature, right? Where can we store the food in a perfect way? Food should be stored a minimum of 6 inches from the floor and 2 inches from the wall or rack, as should be ranged to allow for the air circulation. Definitely, as we saw in the dry storage, exactly, it is not actually in the cold storage or dry storage. It is everywhere. Like you're gonna go for storage, it must not be contact to the ground first of all, and must be a little bit heighted, so it be completely air circulation passed. It's not like a somewhere sack. For example, you gonna keep a one packet in the ground, right? So what happened? The down one is touch the ground, right? So that is completely sealed. So there's no air circulation happening. Only the side and the top the air circulation, right? But we want to every side to be equal, right? That what is showing that. That's what is saying actually in this point, that allow for air circulation, right? Have you got it? So let's go to the next point. Do not store foods directly on the floor. That's what I said in the previous one. Do not store food directly on the floor. All items should be marked with the receiving date prior to serving, right? Before you're gonna go to store those things what are coming out right now, produce, we have to see first that what are the receiving date and what are the best before using of that product, right? Those things you have to keep in mind, because you just can't skip it. If you skip it, like nobody does it like deliberately, but it happens sometime. But please keep in mind one thing: if you're not looking at it, it might be spoilage, and like by default you use that thing, it might be a poisonous, so it can lead to a lot of problems to the human who just had that food, right? Opened ingredients should be stored in sealed airtight container, as I said in the dry storage. Even this is what practically everybody does, right? Open ingredient must be stored in sealed or airtight containers, so it not gets spoiled, right? The basic thing that we have to keep in mind when we like go through the storage or these all things, right? Let's go to the next point. Cold storage areas should have a minimum of one thermometer installed to monitor maintain of temperature between 30 to 40 degree Fahrenheit cooler and -10 to 0 Fahrenheit freezer. Temperature is cold storage area should be recorded daily on the temperature record card, right? As again I just said in the dry storage that the temperature really you have to maintain the storage, right? The temperature that every day you have to see that is that every food is completely kept in the same temperature that what is required, right? Required temperature. So we maintain a temperature record card where we write all the temperature that today it was like -8 degree Fahrenheit. Today, yesterday was like -8. Then it might be a 5. So again we have to see that what is the main problem that is getting down. It'd be like the walk-in is open many times. It might be using the walk-in many times. For that reason you open the door a lot of times, right? So what happened? The temperatures always change. When you open the door, automatically the temperature is get mixed up with the normal temperature and get again down, right? So refrigerator had to work more and more. The machine had to work more and more to understand, to maintain the same temperature, right? So the storage people are gonna see this maintaining the temperature, right? With the help of the maintaining temperature card. Like today we open a lot of times this door just because of that only the temperature is getting very low, or some of party today we have some party or some of things like again we know that okay fine, it's walking, everything stuff will be kept in that, right? So when we open it, what we're gonna do today, especially today, we're gonna open a lot of time this door because everything we're making and keeping inside, then we take it out serving, then again we're keeping inside, right? So what happened in because of that, what the storage people does is to just raise a little bit of temperature more. So what's gonna happen when we close the door, automatically start freezing more and more rather than the previous temperature, right? The previous one's temperature. So those are things very important to understand the temperature and keep it safe, the food. The main funda in this actually is to maintain the temperature and not get the food to spoil easily, right? because we know that what the food we're making is very expensive, and even the food not to be go in the danger zone where it can get spoiled or it be a poison for human, might be get a food, can I say a food poison, right? Let's see the next point. Frozen food items should be stored in the original container until used in preparation, right? Definitely, we don't have to be take it out another. This is a small thing which can happen across contamination. If we have a bowl and a container, a tin, right, a garbanzo beans tin, you open it, okay, and you know that after 15-20 minutes I'm going to pour this one into the pan or into the a big mixture, right? So before that you cut the tin, is fine, but don't change the container, like bring your bowl and putting that all the garbanzo beans in that bowl, okay, and just waiting for 10 minutes. That okay, fine, if it when the process done, when the mixture is done, then I'm going to add these beans, right? Don't do that. Let the things in the same tin, in the original tin, so it will be completely safe. Go to the next point. Here we go. The food with strong odor should be placed in an airtight container to prevent odor transfer to the other food. Yes, in a storage area, take for example, I'm taking a walk-in, right? Some of things which really having a very strong odor, once you keep inside it's good to the surrounding, right? Like if you keeping a cheese and in the next to that a food which is very a strong odor, if you keep, so what happened, the smell will transfer to the cheese, right? When you're going to use the cheese, you're not getting the original smell of the cheese. Actually, it's like dominant of the next food which having a strong odor, so it will be dominant to the cheese, right? So please keep in mind that if you know that this food has a strong odor, you must be keep it separate in a different side, or try to use some airtight containers so the odor will not gonna go to the atmosphere, right? Creep like this dominant to other food, so there's no originality then will be right there in that, right? To prevent cross contamination, do not store meat item above other food in the cooler. I just said that everything is there which is really comes from bottom to top in the first slide that I want to show you, right? So you must to keep according to that. Cooked food never go with near or just next to the raw meat, right? It's all about a cross contamination, where I'm going to put the videos about the hazards. We can easily understand about this procedure, what to keep and what not to, right? Let's go to the next slide. It's about I bring out here some of ambient temperature that you must know about this, that freezer like 0 degree Fahrenheit to or below, refrigerator exact same thing, milk cooler it must be 32 degree Fahrenheit to 38 degree Fahrenheit. Then we have a dishwasher water, we just can't skip anything actually. I know people are thinking about why like I put in here the rinsing water, the dishwashing water. You must know about this whole thing. This is a logical thing, which is just a simple thing that you have to keep in mind, right? The dishwasher water, the rinse water, it will be like exactly the same thing, 110 degree Fahrenheit at least, right? So these are things. Let's go to the next slide. It's all about the leftover food, right? Yeah, that's very important actually. You must have to keep in mind that how to use that, so not go for the waste, right? Careful planning shall be practiced at all time to minimize overproduction which cause leftover food. Just be focused to the portion, right? When you know that this much portion goes in this plate, so why you just making more than this? There's no use, right? Anyhow, that food, the extra food gonna keep inside, right? And that would get dry if you're not gonna keep in a better temperature, right? It get dry. Might be the order will come today or not. So those things are getting waste, right? So keep in mind that as much portion you require, that much portion you make, right? Food production remains after each day's operations shall be handled and stored as so to prevent contamination. Right? Definitely what I just said in the previous one, that if you know that some of the the portion, right, the rest which is like kept aside, like waiting for the next order, if you're not gonna get that order, so what can you do with that? You're not gonna throw it out, right? Just keep in a perfect temperature, so it's not gonna get spoiled, or you can use it for later. So what happened is exactly like that. So it's not gonna get a dry or not get a more moist or just contact to the air, right? if you contact away, it gets start contamination, right? So keep in a proper place so we can reuse this one, the reshuffle. That's called a reshuffle, means leftover food to use, right? If you don't know about the reshuffle, please go to my previous videos. In the terms of important terms, you can see a reshuffle in the point. Just read that, you can easily clear with that, right? Food items that meet strict food safety standards may be retained and offered for reservice in another meal, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can use it actually for another meal, return from like offer to reservice another meal, right? That is the second point. That's also a point that you can use that leftover food, right? Leftover that does not meet food safety standard will be discarded. You know that some of food will be kept for longer and there's no order, or you just can't see that the same food has been kept for 2-3 days and it is not ready to use as a leftover food, right? You just can't reheat and have it. You better just discard it, right? But try to understand that. Keep in mind about the portion size so you can save that things, right? Not to throw, because nobody wanted to waste the food. It's so expensive what we're using in the hotels, right? Let's go to the next point. A perpetual inventory of leftover food should be maintained to ensure unuses as soon as possible, right? Ensure to maintain actually the leftover food be used first, right? All leftover food that are being stored for future service should be marked with a label that listed in the food items and the date prepared. Yes, if you make some of things and just maintain and write a date actually that before this date we have to use this, so you'll be completely perfectly in your mind that okay fine, we already have that, please bring it up and use that first, so not to use other things, right? So that is our main thing. Yeah, this is a good point actually. You can keep in mind that before that this is a procedure that you have to maintain it, like write the date, label it, the food, so you're not gonna waste, and before you're gonna add the new one, so you can have a remember in your mind, you can remember that yeah there's a food is there that we have to use first. After that, if you require, then we open the new one, right? Both cold and hot foods should be covered and placed in the cooler to speed cool down of internal temperature to 40 Fahrenheit or below. What are the main view actually of this point is to maintain the temperature that I have it require. It's something you make and strictly go to the refrigerator before that it comes to contamination or just comes to the normal temperature. It must be go and maintained in that particular temperature so it not get spoiled, right? So these all things very keep in mind, because these are silly things but really matters a lot, right? That's the reason I'm trying to put this all things in videos where people can see, watch and understand the silly things, but the silly things are the important things, right? A small silly things can lead to a very danger. So for that reason, I'm putting these all things in this video, right? And guys, thank you for watching this video, and definitely I'm gonna bring some more important terms like HACCP, as I said. So do watch this video and do understand and do learn, and see you with the next video. Here's Chef Bonus. See you right there, buddy.